This story is titled, My Wife Constantly Talks About How Much She Misses Her Single Life, and It's Making Me Feel Unwanted. I'm James, 48 years old. I've always considered myself a good husband, the kind of man who listens, supports, and does his best to make his wife happy. When I married Lisa 7 years ago, I thought I had found my forever person. She was bright, adventurous, and full of life. But lately, I feel like I'm standing in the shadow of a man she wishes she had never married. It started off small, a few passing comments here and there. Remember when we used to just go out whenever we wanted? No responsibilities, no schedules. I would laugh and agree, reminiscing with her about our early days. Then it became more than just nostalgia. I miss those days so much, back when I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone reminisces about their younger years, but then she started saying it more often, with a different tone, one that made my stomach twist. Sometimes I miss my single life. She would say it so casually, like it was just an innocent thought passing through her mind, but the way she said it, it didn't feel innocent. At dinner, she would talk about her single friends, how much fun they were having, how they could travel without worrying about a husband at home, how they didn't have to check in with anyone. She wasn't just remembering her past anymore. She was longing for it. And I started to wonder, was she longing for a life without me? One night, as we lay in bed, she sighed dramatically and said, God, if I had known how much I'd miss being single, I don't know if I ever would have gotten married. She laughed afterward like it was some kind of joke, but I wasn't laughing. I turned to her, my heart pounding. Lisa, what are you saying? She looked at me, surprised, like she hadn't expected me to take her words seriously. Oh, come on, James. You know what I mean. Don't you ever miss it? Just being free? Free? Was she saying she felt trapped? I didn't know how to respond. My chest felt tight, like I was bracing for a punch I couldn't see coming. Did my wife regret marrying me? I started paying more attention to her behavior. She was on her phone more, scrolling through social media, watching videos of young women traveling, partying, living wild, carefree lives. She started going out more too. At first, it was just with her friends from work. Then she started reconnecting with old college friends, single ones, friends I had never even heard of before. She would get dressed up, wearing outfits she hadn't worn in years, spending hours doing her makeup like she was trying to turn back time. And she stopped inviting me. Girls? Night, she'd say with a smile, kissing me on the cheek before leaving. But every time the door closed behind her, I felt it. That ache. That whispering voice in the back of my mind asking me the one question I didn't want to face. Is she pulling away from me? One night, I woke up to an empty bed. The clock read 2:13 a.m. I sat up, listening for any sounds in the house. Nothing. I reached for my phone, my hands cold with a creeping fear I didn't want to name. I called her. It rang, and rang, and rang. No answer. I tried again. This time she picked up, her voice slurred and tired. James? Where are you? My voice was calm, but my hands were clenched into fists. She groaned. Relax. I'm just out with some friends. Lisa, it's 2 in the morning. She giggled, like it was funny that I was worried. Oh my God, you sound like such a husband right now. I closed my eyes, breathing through the sharp stab of her words. Lisa, come home. She sighed dramatically. Fine, I'll be there soon. She didn't come home for another hour. When she stumbled through the door, I could smell the alcohol on her. Her makeup was smudged, her hair messy like she had been dancing, or something worse. I didn't say anything. I just watched as she kicked off her heels and crawled into bed, acting like everything was normal. But it wasn't. And for the first time in our marriage, I felt like a stranger in my own home. The next morning, I confronted her. I told her how I felt, how her words had been eating away at me, how I couldn't shake the feeling that she was slipping through my fingers. She laughed. James, you're being ridiculous. I love you, okay? Just because I miss my single life doesn't mean I don't want to be married. But do you want to be married to me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She rolled her eyes, brushing me off. Of course I do, you're just overthinking things. Was I? Then why did it feel like I was already losing her? I started doing something I never thought I'd have to do. I checked her phone. I hated myself for it, but the doubt was gnawing at me, demanding answers. And that's when I found it. A message. From someone named M. Last night was incredible. Can't wait to see you again. I stared at the words, my pulse roaring in my ears. Me too. I haven't had that much fun in a long time. I scrolled up, my stomach churning. The messages weren't long, but they were flirty, playful, too comfortable, too intimate. And then I saw it. A picture. A picture of her. In a dress I had never seen before, posing in a way she hadn't posed for me in years. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I had been worried about losing my wife. I didn't realize I already had. I put her phone down and sat on the edge of the bed, my hands shaking. I had given her my love, my devotion, my whole heart, and she had given hers to someone else. I heard her footsteps coming down the hall. I knew I only had seconds before she walked in, before I had to look her in the eyes and decide what I was going to do next. Lisa walked into the room, stretching as she yawned. She didn't even notice the phone in my hands at first. She just smiled sleepily, like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just shattered my entire world. I placed the phone on the nightstand and looked at her. Really looked at her. For 7 years, I had loved this woman. I had built a life with her, made sacrifices, held her when she cried, celebrated her victories. I had believed in our marriage, even when she had stopped believing in it herself. And now, all I could feel was the suffocating weight of betrayal. Lisa must have sensed something was wrong because her smile faded. "James, what's wrong?" I gestured toward the phone. "Who's M?" Her face went blank. It was just for a split second, but I saw it. That flicker of panic, the moment she realized she had been caught. "What?" she asked, forcing a laugh. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Don't lie to me, Lisa. I read the messages." Silence. Then she sighed, crossing her arms like I was the one inconveniencing her. "James, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." She hesitated, and in that hesitation I knew. I had already lost her. "Is there someone else?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. "It's not serious." My heart clenched. "Not serious?" The woman I had vowed to spend my life with was sending flirty messages and pictures to another man, and it wasn't serious. I felt sick. "How long?" She didn't answer right away. "Lisa, how long?" Another sigh. "A few months." Months. Months of her lying to my face. Months of me doubting myself, wondering if I was being paranoid, if I was just overthinking things. Months of her pretending to be my wife while sneaking around with someone else. I stood up, my chest rising and falling with deep, controlled breaths. I didn't trust myself to speak. Lisa sat on the bed, her eyes fixed on me. "James, I love you. I don't want to lose you." "Then why?" My voice cracked. "Why did you do this?" She ran a hand through her hair, frustrated. "Because I needed to feel alive again. I needed to feel like I was still me. Before marriage, before routines, before me." She looked at me then, and for the first time, I saw the truth in her eyes. She didn't regret hurting me. She regretted getting caught. I nodded slowly, letting the reality sink in. "I deserve better than this," I said, my voice firm. Lisa's eyes widened. "James, wait." But I was already walking away. I packed my bags that same day. Lisa begged me to stay. She swore it was just a mistake, a temporary lapse in judgment. She told me she loved me, but love isn't just words. It's actions. And hers had already told me everything I needed to know. I walked out of that house, and I didn't look back. I won't lie. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done. But staying with someone who didn't respect me, who didn't cherish what we had, that would have been even harder. Now, months later, I'm rebuilding. I'm healing. And most importantly, I'm learning to love myself again. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have you ever experienced betrayal? Share your thoughts below.